Welcome to the Vortex.
Welcome to the Vortex. I'm Jillian Simmons, and I'm here with Joy Boisvert. And she's a medical intuitive and an intuit. And today she's going to talk about vaccinations and want to just get your feeling on what you can do for someone who has had a vaccination and perhaps is feeling some interesting effects.
Okay. On vaccinations, I want to first tell people that we always have the right, and this isn't with you, but everyone, the right to disagree. So if I say I wouldn't get a vaccination, if some of my clients really want to get vaccinated, absolutely positively I work with them. And even if they don't have any side effects, because sometimes the side effects sometimes don't show for a long time afterwards. I work with them on detoxing anything in it, like preservatives or mercury or anything at all that's in it, and I pull it out so they get the benefits of the vaccination, once again, without the side effects. And as far as vaccinations, I personally don't get them. And I feel that people with vaccinations, people without vaccinations can get sick just as easily. And so, but this is a time of year where we have to make sure we eat good food. We have to make sure we get enough sleep, that we stay warm, and that we do everything we can to stay away from people that are really sick, to stay healthy, because it's very taxing to the body. But if you do get sick, I really believe that if we don't get vaccinations, we are less sick. And that's what I have read in bodies, that the people that catch the swine flu or whatever are 10 times easier for me to treat than the ones that have had vaccinations. And I had a client that had a vaccination, so I did read her body, so I'm familiar with how the swine flu vaccination works in the chi. And I had a lady that never gets vaccinations, and she was, you know, pretty sick really, where she was really in bed. But once again, within one day of treating her like a half an hour and then a half an hour later and half an hour in the morning, she was up moving around and serving dinner and everything else. And everyone else that had the swine flu was in bed for 2 to 3 weeks. And so I told her, really, truly for about 2 or 3 weeks, if you get something like the swine flu, you can feel like you're really over it. You know, you really feel good. And what I try to tell them, I still find some of it there. It tends to be the kind of vaccination that, a flu, that can almost split off. Do you see where you get few areas? So I just tell them for the next at least maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, they should continue to eat easily digested foods, not be around people that are sick, get to bed early, and then their chi just goes like this. If they don't, it's one of those flus, you know, that 3 months later you're still really not feeling good. Yeah. And so that is just my opinion on, I believe our bodies, if it's strong enough, it's best for it to fight it itself than to put some of the chemicals in there. And I feel that way about, but I have to tell you, not about all meds. I feel that way about vaccinations, but there are some meds, if people really need to be on antidepressants, I absolutely would be thrilled or send them to a doctor to say, but then I would ask them to tell me when they got home which one they were on. You see, so I can negate the side effects. Because I don't believe it's good for the body to really force it to go through pain. And I have sometimes clients that say, I will not ever take an aspirin. And I used to be that too. Until as I read the body, what I realize is that when you're in pain, if you really need to take something to stop it, or what happens is the whole body goes into the pain cycle. Do you see? Really lowers chi. But then what you want to find out afterwards is, how did I get the headache? Do you see? How did I get that? So that I won't get it again. But if you twist your ankle or hurt your hip or something, it's inflamed. I really have to really tell people, please take an anti-inflammatory. But let's read the ones at the store. You know, not read the ingredients, just name them. 10, yes, no, yes, not so good, very good for you, you know. So you pick the right one. And then once you get the inflammation down, you see, then the blood can get in there and it heals faster. So I believe we can go way too far on either side. I will never take anything, you see.
Yeah, I really fully understand, too, that there's been some recent studies about morphine and how morphine can actually help you forget a traumatic situation.
Yes, it absolutely can. So there's where every individual is individual. And the other thing is even doctors, because I can read doctors, but when I say read doctors, I don't mean I read their life, what their talents are for what you have. I might
So
say
could I-
very good on that, but not so good on that.
So if I were to give you a list of doctors of my, you would.
Yes, I would, Eddie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, we have seen some very sad instances of celebrities overdosing and so forth. How would you, if they were to come to you and say, help me, what would you do?
Well, what I usually do is I just look at them and I go, or look over the phone or whatever, I go blank. Do you see? So if they tell me, and I have had people tell me things like, well, I've had anorexia or I have bulimia or whatever. And I said, well, that's okay, sweetie. We're just going to work on it together. So I don't make a big thing of it. So if they came and if they said they were in drug addiction, so here's where I'm going to count 0, 1, 2, 3 as to what I would tell them. Don't forget, we're still counting sometimes, honey.
Yes.
Count 0, 1, 2, 3.
In a prior episode or a
Yes,
prior
right.
segment, we talked about how she works, and also that working and the way you work can change over time, that it develops.
That's right.
And it could move in different directions.
Yeah. So count 0, 1, 2, 3. And what I would tell someone if they said prior, I have a drug addiction, okay? Count 0, 1, 2, 3.
0, 1, 2, 3.
4 things I would say, okay. Number 1, I would absolutely positively tell them that it's healable. Okay. Number 2, like AA or anything else, I would also tell them, or bulimia or anorexia, it is going to take some discipline. That I'm not the magic genie. Do you know what I mean? You rub the belly or whatever and you're all done. I call it waving a magic wand. But it will take some commitment and discipline because it's an addiction. Do you say you have to break the habit with this and then I move all the other stuff.
Can I ask you something? As a Kundalini yoga teacher, we often say it takes 40 days to break an addiction. What do you feel about that?
And that's if the person is working or not working. I mean, because there's variables.
No, if you're working, consistent work.
Okay. Let's just say if the person is really working, so I'm not putting myself in the factor, because that's what you were saying for that. Say, is that correct?
Is that correct?
Yes, I would say probably 40 to even 50 or 60, depending on how many other things are wrong in the body. Do you say? Because the body has more chi, the less wrong things it has to work on the addiction.
Well, how does an addiction impact the chi?
Hugely. So once again, count 0, 1, 2, 3.
0, 1, 2, 3.
It is constantly draining to your Kundalini soul center. Constantly draining. It puts the person also in a state of that like euphoria kind of thing or whatever, which is not healthy because it puts the brain in a different space, do you say? Which is not healthy. The other thing is it impacts their family because there's always unhappiness. Do you know what I mean? Around someone that's addicted, which also takes down their chi. So long story short, it takes down your chi in about every way it could. Yeah.
Works on many levels.
And that's even a carbohydrate addiction, it's even food addiction, it's gambling addiction, any addiction, because addiction means that certain parts of the brain have switched, you see, and you have to be able to bring that back into brain. Unless they're just going to do it by, I will not drink. Do you know what I mean? You can do that too. But to really heal it, you have to get rid of past lives. You have to get rid of all that stuff because 9 times out of 10, you were one in a past life. But you have to cause the brain to make a great big movement, which is a big thing.
So you're helping people facilitate that shift.
That's correct. Now, it's not ego again. I'm just curious. How much faster could I do it? So let's just say, if they're serious, like you said they were serious in that scenario, okay? Now count 0, 10, 20.
0, 10, 20.
I could do it probably in about 25 to, if they were working at it, 25 to maybe 45 days, so a little bit shorter.
Would you work with them daily?
That's a good question because I always ask my higher knowing, and let's just say the average, say one of these stars or something, okay? Probably work with them first 1 hour. Remember, I said that 1 hour first. And then I would count, and it's your body I'm reading, 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's say 0, 1, 2, probably about a half an hour in 2 or 3 days, 15 minutes in 2 or 3 days, probably 10 minutes every couple of days for about a month. But, 10 minutes, 50, it's almost like hitting it, and if they go off the wagon, you've caught